Hello, everyone. We're so delighted that you're here today to see this session of the ACB Connects. We extend a special warm welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time and for any of our international guests. I'm Gail Brechting. I'm the past president of ACB, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's discussion, Managing Your Band Part 2, Financial and Funding Concepts. We're especially excited to be welcoming our panelists back, and you'll get to meet them in just a few minutes. ACB Connects is sponsored by the Association of Concert Bands, an international nonprofit organization whose mission is to foster excellence in concert band music through performance, education, and advocacy. Our membership includes concert community bands, band directors, individual members, and corporate members. Everyone who cares about concert band is welcome to become a member. Today's session is presented as a service to our members and as an outreach to our music community. Before we get started, we have a few housekeeping items. For optimal audio, everyone except the presenters have been muted. Today's session will be recorded and will be archived along with previous sessions that can be accessed from the ACB Connects page on our website. And finally, if you have any questions or comments, please share these in the chat. And while we try to guarantee a response to everything that's posted, we'll get to as many questions as time permits, and they will be addressed. It's my honor to introduce our guest panelists. We have Keith Hodgson, conductor of the South Jersey Area Wind Ensemble. We have Rose Wiersma, conductor of the Zeeland Community Band in Southwest Michigan. Clay Hooten is not here yet, but we're hoping he will pop in. And when he does, we'll let you know. He's a retired music educator, and he is starting a community band in Arkansas. We have Ned Snow, who plays with two ACB member bands based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He's currently serving as the president of the High Desert Winds, and he's an ACB board member. Now that we know our panel, the session today will go like this. Keith is going to share the South Jersey Area Wind Ensemble's financial plan, and I will begin with questions about the plan. Each panelist will be asked to give their thoughts or questions. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat and we'll try to address them. Now, I invite Keith to share his story about his band's financial plan from their 5-year strategic plan. Hi, Keith. Oh, you're muted. Do over.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Keith.
Thanks for having me back.
Sure.
So I wasn't going to share the screen like I did last time. If you were here last time, we shared the whole strategic plan, and the financial development direction was just one of the 4 pillars in our 5-year plan. So that's boiled down to a one-page snapshot. So I'll just maybe go over that. So the enduring understanding of this particular direction is that the South Jersey Area Wind Ensemble will solidify financial stability and growth. And then based on that we will do this by developing strategies and we have 4 points. First of all, encourage members to pursue chair sponsorships, create grant writing and grant finding committees, instill individual responsibility for the financial health of the organization by each member, and utilize small ensembles for fundraising and band reimbursement. So in a snapshot, those are the strategies. There are 4 action plan aspects to that. I'll touch on those real quick. Fall chair sponsorship drive to include individual testimonials, mailers, sample letter, and member and sponsor recognitions. The next part is communicating incentives for successful grant writing and encouraging members to be involved in grant efforts, and establishment of a grant writing committee. To present a short budget overview for the full membership and educate member responsibility to support the financial health of the organization. And finally, to create a small ensemble manager to promote groups on the website and seek venues and opportunities. And so with each of those actions, there's timeline and who's involved, responsible for carrying those things out. And then finally the metric, how we're measuring each of those things. So that's the snapshot from the the five-year strategic plan that we had in place. But as I was thinking today about this meeting, I thought I could just give you a snapshot of what I think the financial income and expenses are for our group. You want me to just touch on that real quick? I have basically,
Sure, absolutely.
yeah, 5 bullets. In terms of our income, we have a membership dues that are $40 a member annually. That's about the only thing we can really depend on and bank on that we know that is income every year, right? Everything else is just based on work, like the chair sponsorships that was mentioned. Those are $250, and we have a handful. It's probably maybe a quarter to maybe less than a third of our members have chair sponsorships. Of course, we would love 100% of the ensemble to have chair sponsorships. That would be our goal, which is why it's in the strategic plan to keep pushing members to do that. That was the second thing. The third thing were grant applications. We're always looking for new ones, and I can just touch on, well, maybe you'll ask about, I'll leave it alone until you ask questions, because maybe you'll ask questions about grants.
Yes.
Donations was the fourth bullet I had, and you can never depend on those. You just never know. Donations are surprises, right? And
Yeah.
when people surprise you with $100 or they surprise you with $2,000, it is just amazing every time those things happen. And the last bullet I had were concert proceeds, but I put that in parentheses because I think often we are spending as much to put on a concert as we're collecting for a concert, and may even go into the red. And I don't think we bank on that as income. Of course, nobody wants to lose money. So I will just mention that our concerts are priced at $15, and have always been for the last 27 years, and $8 for students and $15 for adults. So, we've thought about and batted around raising prices at times and decided every time not to, that we wanted to keep it as easy for people to come. And in fact, the next concert we're having in April is going to be free because we did get an exceptional grant this year. And the first thing we decided to do was, hey, let's make the next concert free. We don't want to do that too much because we don't want people to get used to free concerts, but every once in a while it might be nice, right? So those are just my 5 bullets for income. The expenses, there's always a lot of different expenses, but I just kind of boiled them down into 5 bullets. First of all, producing concerts or concert expenses, so to speak. That's probably the majority of what we do. Advertising, I just put that as a separate bullet. Of course, part of that is advertising our concerts. Guest conductors and soloists. We have guest conductors annually, every year. So there's expenses for that and any soloists we bring in during the year as well. A bullet for new equipment. And I included that, it might be band equipment, it might be percussion equipment, although, we recently did outfit ourselves with that. So there's really not a lot of unanticipated needs there. But we have also invested in expensive cameras, video cameras, 3 or 4 of them, so that we have 3 or 4 different camera angles for the videos that we put together, and band computers lasting 3 or 4 years, and then you really realize you have to replace your band computer because it's really needed. And then the final bullet is commissions and special projects. I can talk more about that later. We did commission annually for about 14 years, decided to stop commissioning. And then we did a few years of composition contests. And then when we had like a 20th anniversary or a 25th anniversary kind of thing, we've done special commissions for those kinds of things. But I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. That gives us a lot of things. And the questions that have already come in when people were signing up, I've got all of those, and I've kind of grouped them a little bit to the interest of the people who are here today and others who will be doing that. Now, the one first thing that came into my mind, and I just like to have and talk about this in the roundtable a little bit, is membership dues. And I had two questions that came up in the chat, and I will address those in a couple moments. But membership dues, I will ask different people in our panel to talk about this a little bit. I will also pop in, because of the fact that Clay isn't here right now, I'm going to pop in a few things about some of the things with my group. But you mentioned that you have a fee, and you said it was it $40 or?
Yeah.
Yes.
40.
Okay. And I want to ask you a quick question, Keith. Out of that $40, how many concerts would the people, if they paid the $40, be involved with as a player?
We only have probably at the max 5 concerts a year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I asked that because we charge 60. And then if there's someone that just comes in and comes out, like some of our snowbirds, I will charge them the division of that per concert. And that just seems to work really nicely. And, you know, at first I know my board was like, oh, we can't do this. We can't charge people. But when we realized that people pay for bowling, they pay for most anything that has fun time, that didn't seem to be a real issue with any of our members. And if it was, we were there to help them. So Ned, I'd like to bring you in on this because you are so involved with 2 ensembles. Could you share with us a little bit maybe along that answer of membership dues?
Yes, for the Santa Fe Concert Band, we have annual dues of $100. And it's been at $100 for decades, I'm told. I've only been around for 6 years. But we have a very generous offer of low rent from the Salvation Army. And that's where we rehearse. So that really helps on our expenses. But $100 serves us quite well, and allows us to purchase new music every now and then, percussion equipment as needed. We've also been very lucky to have received some grants for percussion equipment. And so we have a pretty full line of percussion. In High Desert Winds, it's a little bit different. For its entire existence, which is about 10 to 15 years, I believe. And again, I've only been around for 6 years. There were no dues. And members were encouraged to seek advertising for the concert program. And so then starting last year, we formalized that. And we put it out to the members to choose between seeking to get an ad or make a donation of $25. And it was amazing to me how generous the people were. People didn't necessarily want to chase down ads because that's time consuming. Yeah. And rather than put in $25, I'd say the majority of people put in 50, 100, 200. Okay. So we overshot our estimate by a lot. And that really helps. We're also looking at offering sponsorships for concerts and for a theme concert. And I think I might have mentioned that in the first session that we had, that we had a New Mexico-centric concert of music that was about New Mexico or written by a New Mexican composer. And we saw a sponsorship for that to put in some money that would allow us to advertise. We weren't totally successful in that, but we did, in the meantime, get a gift to support the promotion of one of the pieces that we played that was commissioned. And that did allow us to do advertising in the newspaper. Okay. So
Good. Well, thank you. I'd like to move on to Rose and ask you the same question, Rose. Do you have a membership dues, or how is it that you support your ensemble with your members?
So we do have a dues, but it's a very informal dues. It doesn't even get announced very much. It is $50. I would say we typically play 7 concerts in a year, and we haven't paid attention to, oh, it's $50 for 7 concerts. In fact, when new members come, they may or may not be told about the dues. When I have some members, new people come, they will say, oh, hey, what's your dues? We want to pay. We want to help this band. My biggest, I think, most fun way of funding the band is announcing to the band and audiences that, hey, if there's some good music out there you would like to hear or you want to play, let me know. You and I will agree on the arrangement and you'll buy the music. And I offer to the band members, if instead of dues, you'd like to just go pick a piece of music and we agree on it, the director always has the trump card on that choice. But we're playing honestly, more music, more difficult music. I mean, we're challenged by this, the things that these people want to hear from the audience. It comes out, oh yeah, I want to hear this piece. Oh, and they'll give me the money for it. And I can't wait to hear it. It's been a fun way to expand our library, which was badly in need of that. So that's our biggest thing. We do donations for our concerts. It's always a basket out there, but it's not passed. It's hard, you know, I'll announce it.
Right.
But
Right.
that's not big. We
Good.
do play for a few assisted living homes, and they will have a fee that they say, we could give you this donation for coming, and we're not, again, well, this is our minimal that we'll pay for. You want us, we're gonna go play. We very much come from the standpoint, we're a community band. We love making music together. We love making music for the community, and off we go. And if you can help us, that's great. And it's worked well. It's relaxed.
Wonderful. Good. Another quick question, and I think I just want maybe a sentence answer from all of you on the panel. Someone was talking about, let me see, I want to get back to my chat because it was a very good question. Rehearsal facility costs. Those of you who are on the panel, I'm just going to ask you quickly to just tell us what rehearsal facility you use and is there a cost and what that is. Okay, we'll start with Keith.
We moved out of our facility after 22 years because it wasn't free anymore, and we were starting to get charged for it, and we just couldn't afford that. We do have a new facility, and it is free. And we rehearse on a stage in the PAC Center, and our equipment is kept right underneath the stage, and it's just a perfect situation.
And there's no fee for it.
Nope.
But I recall talking with you but you had to buy percussion equipment. Right? Wasn't that a part of the situation? No.
Well, we bought it for ourselves because we were
Right.
moving out of the high school that we were,
Right. Right. So there is a situation that happens to a lot of groups where they're working with a school perhaps somehow. And there was a question that came in just today with someone that signed up. And the question was, are you affiliated with any kind of school? I know my ensemble is affiliated to a point with the community college in our city. But we are just a partner. That's all. But we do have to pay for our facility. Ned, what about you with your bands?
I actually don't know what we pay to the Salvation Army. I have a question out to one of the attendees in this meeting but I haven't gotten an answer yet. Okay. But High Desert Winds, we rehearse at a high school band room, and the high school band director is a horn player with the band. So he has a way to allow use of his band room off hours. And so we get that for free.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you. And Rose, what about you?
We rehearsed in a middle school. We were in one middle school. We were being charged like $6 an hour or something for a while. And now we too, yay for French horn players, have a French horn player who's one of the band directors. We've moved to a different middle school, but she as a band director then is signing out the building for us for our rehearsal nights. Performance night is a different issue.
Sure. And do you use their percussion equipment, Rose?
Yes, we do.
What about when you perform though, when you have to go to a concert? Do you rent their equipment? Percussion equipment?
But when we played in the high school auditorium, we used their high school equipment with no charge. When we go out on the road, we have a few percussion equipment, so we have to be very careful about what we choose to play. If there's something that we really need, I'll ask if we can borrow. If the answer is yes, we use it. And if not, then we adapt our music. We have to leave things out.
I know one thing that we've come across in the past year or so is we use the community college school percussion equipment. But now we are being asked, of course, to ensure that as it gets moved into our trailers and out and all of that. And rightly so, because we don't own it. So there's all of that. And I'm asking all these questions so that panelists, the people that are here today, the members are kind of seeing every band is a different situation, obviously. but sometimes it might match up with what you have. And that was the idea of doing this. Okay, I want to go back to Keith for a moment. And Keith, you talked about chair memberships or chair sponsorships. Could you just talk about that a moment? Some people were asking in the chat about some more info on that.
Yeah, we took it from, most major orchestras do this. Their chairs are sponsored by doctors, lawyers, businesses. You go out and reach out to people that you do business with and see if they'll sponsor your chair. And so it's why it's an individual thing. Each individual member can find a sponsor for their chair, $250. It's annual. It's in every program that's listed in every program who the chair sponsors are, both the musician and then who their sponsor is. And it's all also on our website, so forth. And it's kept track of, and we try to have everybody renew that on an annual basis.
Good. And if I might ask, about how much does that bring in to you annually? Would you say?
It's
or how many do you have?
Yeah, it's 250. I'm going to guess that there's probably 20 to 25 out of a 65, 70 member band. So we have a long way to go to get a lot more participation there.
Sure. But it's a great thing to start. I think that's a wonderful thing to start. I'm going to jump from that into endowments, because the endowment to me is a little bit like what Keith is talking about. There were questions about endowments and how to get an endowment started in your organization. I know if you go into our library, the Connects library on our website, we did a whole session, about a 90-minute session, on how to set up an endowment for your organization. We brought in a person from one of the county foundations, and that person shared it all and how to do that. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out your area in wherever you live in the United States and outside the United States, there are, at least in the United States, there are foundations that are specifically involved with trying to help people set up an endowment for whatever purpose. And the one that I worked with that helps us do ours is amazing. I mean, they educate us. They come in every year and talk with my members. They do all these things. Now, the group that I'm from initially, it was a small band. We just sort of got started, but I had a gentleman that wanted to start endowment. And so he did. And that's been probably 18 years ago now. And you have to get to a certain level at first. You have to put in, I think, maybe 2,000 to get it started, and then it goes up to 10, and then you can start to draw off it if you choose to, off the interest of it. And we do use it at least every year to pay for one concert or for a guest artist or a guest conductor, things like this. But it continues to develop the money that you don't have to necessarily go out and try to raise the money. I would highly encourage you to look into that, no matter what size band you are. You should look into that, because they do the work for you primarily. You have to encourage people to donate, of course, but I would encourage that. Keith, have you done anything with endowments?
I don't believe we have, no.
Okay. Ned, have you done anything with your two ensembles with endowments?
Not with endowments. We in High Desert Winds, one of our members sadly passed away a couple of years ago, and we donated the next concert to funding a music library fund. And we're close to $3,000 on that fund. And the idea is that we'll keep feeding that. And so it's not really a true endowment in that it's big enough to spin off interest that we use. But we will use it to buy new music, and then always target a $3,000 level to not to go down under.
That's wonderful. Right. I'll just mention to all of you who are here today, if you look in the chat right now, we have put in there the links to the session that talked about the endowments, that you can go right to it and listen to it and watch it, and it'll help you learn how to do that. So feel free to check that out in the chat. Rose, I'm going to ask you, are you involved with an endowment at all with your group?
We do not have endowment. I've had 2 or 3 members pass away, and we have been named by them to be one of the recipients of gifts. It has not been much.
Right. Yes. And ours, oftentimes sadly, I have 3 past presidents over the past 45 years have passed away in the past 2 years. And they donated immediately or specifically to the endowment fund, because that helps perpetuate those funds, which is really great. So I would encourage you to do that. I'm going to move to some of the questions that were sent to me. One of them is, do any of you have any knowledge of whether the National Education Endowment for the Arts, is there a way to apply for a grant to have like a yearly soloist? Do you have any experience with national grants or state grants or local grants? And I'm going to start with Ned.
Yes, when we hosted the Association of Concert Bands National Convention in 2022, we sought grants. We had one come through that was from the state of New Mexico, and then we had two others that were local foundations based in Los Alamos, where the National Laboratory is. And they have some foundations that have money that they give out to the local community, and the subset of that is for the arts. So that really helped us fund our convention.
Right. Well, thank you. And may I ask you this, did you have someone specifically looking for grants on your committee?
Yes, we were lucky enough to have a professional grant writer who worked all day writing grants, and then would attend our meetings and take input. And then she wrote a grant for the New Mexico Arts. New Mexico Arts is the name of it. But at any rate, she wrote up the grant in nights and weekends. And then the ones in Los Alamos were either employees of the National Laboratory or retired employees of the lab. And they knew who to connect with to get grants.
Well, thank you, Ned. And you have to kind of dig to find them, but once you get the avenue of what that is, you can go back oftentimes. I know our state here in Michigan has touring grant artists that they're local, and some of them are national. And if you get into that, you have to submit it very quickly to be able to get into that on the date that you're supposed to get it. But oftentimes we get it. I would say more yes times that we get it than not getting it. So I think you just have to find how to do it. I'm going to go to Keith. He's shaking his head a lot. I think he's involved with this a little bit.
Well, the two main sources I think of grants, and I'm not the expert because I'm not on the committee doing the grants, but our Atlantic County Cultural Heritage Affairs is associated with New Jersey State Council on the Arts. That's the main organization that gives those out through the county systems. And I know that our state Council on the Arts gives over $2 million a year to New Jersey artists. So we've been the recipient of that. The other one that comes to mind is are the local banks. Ocean First Bank in our area here in New Jersey is one of our local banks, and we get grants from them annually to different amounts, and you just never know what they're going to be, and you're really surprised when they up the amount. You always ask for more. There's just so much paperwork that goes into the grants, enormous amount, and a lot of follow-up paperwork. And you got to document everything and make sure that you have their logo on everything you're putting out there in advertisement and programs. And so we just keep our eye on all that.
Absolutely. And I will say too, with the teams that I work with here in Michigan, with my band, is you just have to keep looking for them. They're there. The grants are out there. Does it take effort? Yes, it takes a great deal of effort, because it's not something that we all know much about, depending on what your background is. But it certainly is worth the effort, because once you get it, oftentimes you can get it more times after that. Rose, have you been involved with doing anything with grants?
No, very low. We went to some training meetings, but have never been successful with grants.
Okay. Yep. And I remember when I first started with my ensemble, and I've been with him 27 years out of the 45. At first, we're not successful, and you just have to figure out the way to do it and keep trying. I think is the whole idea behind that. Okay, let's move on. And it just said a couple of questions.
Gail, before
sure.
On, if I may, at this point,
please.
Very quickly, one of my roles with the ACB board is as chair of the development committee. And I am actively looking for a grant writer. So if anybody on this call is looking for something to do, please contact me. we would love to have you on board as a grant writer. Thank you, Gail.
Right. There's our commercial. All right. So a lot of the questions that came in had to do with grants, how to find them, how to apply for them. And I think in a nutshell, you need to go out, and actually it should be a responsibility of someone on your board to be looking for various grants in your community, in your foundations. There's foundations, and then there's national grants and city grants. And it does take a team to go out and look, but if you find and appoint someone perhaps to do that for you on your board, or choose to do it yourself, it's a wonderful learning experience. And once you get it, then you can move forward with that. There are local governments also within your city. I know we were able to receive one. It had nothing to do with our band, but it had to do with us helping young musicians in our community to go to summer camps. So there's also things like that you as a community ensemble can do for your community too. A question that came up, and I'm going to move to this right now, was ticket prices. Two things. One, tickets, do you ticket them? Do you charge for your concerts? And if you do, what is the thought behind, do you have someone charged to pay a concert? Is there a thought process behind, should it be free because it's a community thing? Should it be concert? What kind of message are we giving to our concert goers was the question, if we charge and if we don't charge. So does everybody understand the question? All right, I'm going to start with Rose on this one, please.
So we do not charge, it's totally donations. And it's been our philosophy to be mostly, we are a community band. We like to make music together. We like to make it for the community. And we live it on a shoestring here.
Sure. Has it been talked about at all with your band, what message you're sending by having it be all free, or that if you have to pay for it, it might be something else different? Do you know what I'm talking about, that concept?
I do, yeah. The value of, here's your musicianship, your artist, and you know that they are worthy of pay. But no, we have not had really that discussion. People are doing it because they love it. Actually, the band tells me they have rehearsal night because it's their mental therapy night.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Versus the band people versus the people in the audience. Absolutely.
Yes.
Another thing that was brought up, and I want to finish with this with Rose, and then I'll keep it up with three. Someone said tickets versus suggested donations, like you do, Rose. Yes. Is there a possibility of a different type of tax deduction by doing that as an ensemble? Does anybody know anything about that? I'm going to ask Rose first.
When people donate the money, like, or buy music, we have not sent that back unless it was requested, I don't think. But there have been some who have bought music, and then we do send out, here's our tax nonprofit.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we have been very faithful about it, but we are doing it more now than previous. You know, it's a growth thing.
Okay, good. Keith, what about your ensemble? Tickets versus donations, and then anything about tax deduction?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have all the answers for you. We always have done a summer park concert, and of course that's always been free. And as I mentioned before, the other concerts we do during the year have been modestly priced at $15 and $8 for students and adults. And our thinking behind that is, geez, it's more expensive to go to the movies. You know, that's less than a movie ticket. And we wanted to keep it at that, but we felt that it's important to have some value on it. I think to your question, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people working really hard to put on a performance for you, and we want you to value that experience. But we're not trying to gouge anybody or even really make money on it. We just don't want to lose money on concerts.
It sounds like both Rose and yours, Keith, have to do with trying to do both, where you balance it with performances. I know ours, when we go into the big theaters, we charge because we kind of have to because of the cost of the theater. But we also do a lot of summer concerts that are free to the community, and that's I think an important part of a community ensemble as well. Ned, let's move to you about the question of tickets versus suggested donations and anything to do with tax deduction.
Yes, our concerts are all free in both the concert band and High Desert Winds. We have donations out there, and we routinely promote putting money into the donation bin several times during each concert. And we've done quite well with that. As far as suggested donation, we've talked about that in High Desert Winds, just to let people know how much it costs to rent the facility, to advertise it, to print the programs, to rent the truck to move the percussion equipment from the high school to the performance venue. This all costs. And people, if we've talked about making people aware of that, just so that they can have an idea, which would then translate into a suggested donation. Fortunately, we are on a shoestring also, and we do pretty well at about $5 per attendee is what we've been averaging. I think if we pulled in $8 to $10, without looking at the numbers too closely, per person, then we would be able to break even or make a little bit of money for some new equipment or music.
Sure. Keith, would you like to?
Yeah, if I could just add one thing that I totally forgot about when I was giving my presentation was that with these donations, we have bronze, silver, gold level sponsorship for certain, over a certain amount. And those are all listed on our website and also in all the concert programs. And to your, they're also all given a tax exemption receipt, a receipt for them so they could do that.
Right.
And I believe
Right.
that also it goes for our chair sponsorships as well. So.
Okay. Rose, thank you, Keith. Rose?
One other thing that is our churches have been very generous, that when we do our outdoor park concerts, I've got a couple of churches right within the same block that have offered their fellowship halls for us to use for concerts. And one of them was always absolutely free. The other one was going to start charging us, and it was really a little bit nicer. I said, well, we really don't have income. We're going to have to go down the street. They right away turned around and had a meeting and said, oh no, you can come for no charge. And they really wanted us in their facilities. So that's been another one. Also the Rotary, I had a presentation with the Rotary and they gave a donation. It hasn't been an annual one, but it was a first step.
Sure. And I would encourage everyone that's here to realize how important your ensemble is to your community. I think sometimes we tend to forget about what we are and what we offer our community and blow our own horn a little bit in such a way, in that, for instance, it's my 45th anniversary for the band right now. And I had a businessman who actually the husband of one of my players came up to me after a concert and said, I want to meet with you. And we did. And he said, you have no idea what a wonderful product you have. And he said, I want to help you make a video and let's go out to our big corporations and talk to them, because they are all about getting the people in the community most likely to buy whatever they're trying to sell. So they're going to want to support what is going on in the community. And I think we sometimes forget to be honest with ourselves and say, we provide a wonderful product. And so consequently, don't be afraid to go out. One of the questions in the chat was about big corporations, large corporations like airlines and things like that. You know your community, whatever's out in your community, why not try for it? I mean, all you got to do, but you need to be able to show them what you are and how do you do that. And I think a lot of it has to do with video nowadays, putting together something. Keith, you mentioned you have video cameras that you use. We've done there's a lot of editing that has to go into that, but it is that thing you can take to a head corporate person and say, this is what we are. We're in your community. These people are doing this. It's amazing how that moves the doors open to having them at least listen to you and see why it's important for the art to be in the community that they have their big corporation in. So don't be ever afraid to do that. Ned, you had your hand up, I believe. No? Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Keith did.
Oh, Keith did. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
And Rose does too.
Yes.
Since you were talking about the importance tooting your own horn, I found myself having to do that with every school administrator who got the new job. So we were for 22 years in my school, and every time the new superintendent came in, they went across the board. All outside groups are all of a sudden paying. We've never paid before, and go in and kind of talk about all the music educators in the 70 districts and all around that are all coming to our and the importance in the community. And almost every one of them agreed and made an exception for us, and we went back to being zero until finally the last one, and we just could not get around that one, and that's when we decided to leave. So
Right. Thank you, Keith, and thank you for sharing that. Rose, you had your hand up about that.
Right. But one of the things that we have worked very hard the last few years, well, for the 10 years, was to spread the word. One, we had to grow the band and have a band that was, okay, you need to come hear us, but then to tell our community, look, we are your community band. You have an event, you've got to have the band. What's your next event? You need a band at that event. You know, it's the old, the Music Man act going on to get them to own their band. And we can't have this event without our band. And we're still working on that.
There you go. And oftentimes they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're missing until they do get the ensemble to come in somehow. And then they want to ask you back to do things. We're going to shift into a couple new issues that are kind of a general around financial, but these were questions that were asked by people that are here today. And let me see. Suggestions to find a concert venue within your local area that will fit your band and not have excessive fees. Any suggestions on that? Finding a venue that doesn't necessarily have an excessive fee, but fits your ensemble. Who would like to go first? Ned, I'm going to ask you to go first.
We're pretty lucky in that we have 2 or 3 facilities available to us, plus our park outside our federal building for our summer concerts. It's a nice green grassy area. Imagine grass in the middle of the desert, but yeah, we do have one place with a nice grassy area. And we play, Mother's Day, Father's Day. We then play another one in August. It was 3 or 4 concerts in the park, and we get donations from them. Then, so that's a great way to do it, is outdoor concerts. The rest of the year, where the weather isn't so cooperative, we have a facility that will cost us $600 to rent. And so that's part of what we need to tell our audience, that this is what it costs to put on a concert. Once a year, our Performing Arts Center, and those of you who attended the 2022 convention know about the Lensic Performing Arts Center. They donate their space once a year for us to play a holiday concert. And we fill that, and it's free concert. So they give it to us for free. We offer it to the community for free. They come in and we fill it. So 700 or 800 people in that theater to hear the holiday concert from the concert band.
Sure.
And we get great donations out of that. And we also have an auction. One of the things that we auction is the chance to conduct the band. And it goes out for bid, and it gets pretty lively. People in anywhere from $800 to $1,500. And it's a wide range there. If we have one person that's bidding and we get up to $800 and somebody's dropped off, then we might have one. But what our conductor is really adept at doing is, when it kind of gets up to the end where there's only 2 people going for it, then he'll say, okay, how about this? You both can conduct for $700 instead of $800. And then we end up getting $1,400.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So that's something great to think about. If you folks who are conductors are open to having guest conductors, then who are just people off the street. If you're open to doing that, then you can get some money into your treasury, and you can have them conduct a Sousa March. Or if you want to spend the time working with them to learn a little bit about conducting, then they might conduct something that would be a little more challenging.
Yeah, thank you. I love the angle of going out and seeing if someone will donate a space, and if you do a free concert. That's a great angle. I hadn't thought about that one. That's really great. Keith, do you want to talk to this at all about finding a venue?
We're lucky that the PAC Center that we have is really one of the nicest ones in our area. So that's our main venue at the moment. Before this, we had this facility. We were using a local university, Stockton University. We also have performed our 25th anniversary concert and another concert with organ in the old Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, where Miss America was held for 100 years. You know, it's
Oh, yeah.
there's the Adrian Phillips Ballroom that it's not the main hall, but there's a 4,000 pipe Kimball organ in the other room that was a perfect kind of venue for us. And we negotiated. It wasn't anything expensive. I think the most expensive thing we paid for was going down to the Sousa Band Festival in Washington and performing at the Kennedy Center. You know, because you want to do something like that, or Carnegie Hall, but those kinds of venues are going to be expensive. You want to try to go in with other community bands. That's what the Sousa Band Festival was. You know, a bunch of different community bands playing together, and it's so memorable. I mean, we're still just living on the high of that 6 years later, and can't wait.
Absolutely.
So
That's great. Thank you. I know we have done, my band is anywhere between 75 and 85. It's a pretty good size ensemble. And we've actually stuffed ourselves into churches, and that is a difficult thing. We had to stop doing it, of course, during COVID, but it's kind of begun again. And we do have a beautiful theater that we do get the opportunity to play in, but it's a $2,500 shot. So every concert. So it's not a cheap thing. Rose, what about you? Anything that you've experienced being able to find a different type of venue or to fit your band?
Well, the band grew. At first, we fit in this little park that had a little gazebo. And then we were outgrowing where we filled up the park and there was no room for the audience unless they sat in their cars. So we found these other churches, and I've got one that has an L shape that has a little drive-through where we can set up on the pavement. The audience sets on the grass, and that works very nicely for our summer concerts. And they're the ones that offered the inside fellowship hall. So it's not a staging type area, you know, it's less formal, but sound is fairly decent and that works. There is an outdoor auditorium built, you know, a shell outside, but the city wants to charge us. And so we have not taken advantage of that. We used to always play at one of the little communities barbecue. The Drenth barbecue was the annual thing, and we were the band. Well, all good things come to an end. So that was gone. We said we need another facility, another concert that time. And we found a home that's been built for adults who are in some way infirmed. And they had a very nice setup also where we could set up on pavement, on cement. They're on the grass, but if it's bad weather, they have open doors that just slide open and we can just slide right inside with the audience.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's a really nice replacement that we found. And it's a
Sure.
great community touch to them.
Sure. I know we did a thing one time. We just did a brainstorming thing with our board, or you could do it with your band. And that is just, let's start thinking about where could we go that's out of the box? Where could we perform if we had the opportunity? How could we afford it? I know our county has a beautiful park right on the lake downtown. And during COVID, they really wanted some kind of outdoor concert. And I said, well, we'll do it, because we were playing it in another location. And since then, they've charged us a very small amount. And I've just been able to go to community members and ask if they would be the angel for that. And that has not been a problem. We also bring in food trucks to our outdoor concerts. And that's really fun. It's not that hard. You don't have to pay them. They want to be there. You can guarantee them usually about 100 people or more. They will oftentimes come anyway. And it just makes it more festive, which is really fun. Great ideas, everyone. Let's just move on to a couple more things here before we have to close up. There's a challenge that someone who's starting a new ensemble said, how do you handle another smaller, unorganized band in your area that kind of just does what it wants to do when it wants to do it, if you want to be a real startup group without ostracizing the musicians in your community? That's a challenging question. So think about that for a moment. I think it's a real thing that does happen in our world today, where there's people that have ideas and then they're starting to take other musicians from that. How would you handle that? Keith, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm trying to see if I understand your question. If there's another group in your area,
Yes.
Okay.
That's a smaller group.
We have another band in our area. They are more of a typical community band that just accepts any members, and even has kids involved in it. Ours was, when it was set up from the start, and we've kept it that way, has been an adult community band. We don't have kids, although we do a side-by-side once a year with 30 to 40 recommended high school students who have made region band and so forth by invitation only. We also had to have a minimum requirement that you had to have played through college. So you're not just somebody who picked up an instrument. I used to play in high school and the instrument's been sitting in my basement or attic. So it was a different setup, but it's actually really important that that both of the bands exist in our community. And it's not the same town, but it's within the same, relatively close area, that there's a need, that there's an opportunity for anybody to be able to play in one or the other. So it really hasn't been a problem. We do have a lot of our members that play in both, and that's great too. But I've never been concerned about losing anybody to the other group. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Thank you for bringing it up. It's a different situation, obviously, but it works, and it sounds like it balances out. All the musicians you have in your area can find a place to play. I think as long as you're not playing rehearsing on the same night. No. And I know that different groups that we have in our area, we know the directors know each other, and we talk about things. And I have members who play in 3 or 4 different bands a week. And so you work through things, of course. Ned, you had your hand up. Please share.
Yes. As Keith was wrapping his head around the question, I was just jumping in because I have something I can talk to on that. The 2 bands that I'm in, the Santa Fe Concert Band is not an audition band, and we have mostly adults. We encourage high schoolers to join, but high schoolers are generally very busy, so we don't have too many too often. And then we do have people who played through high school or maybe into college or maybe all the way through college, then born in the basement for 50 years, and then they pick it up again. And of course, they're real motivated to get their lip back, and it works out very well. So then they're able to play. But what I really wanted to bring up, the point about poaching musicians from one band to another, is for High Desert Winds, it is an audition band. And when I auditioned for the conductor and was accepted into High Desert Winds, I had to promise that I would not leave the Santa Fe Concert Band. So I play in both. And what helps too is that the conductor of High Desert Winds plays in the Santa Fe Concert Band.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Rose, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that question?
We do have people that play in several bands and several small ensemble combos, and they just all blend together. We have not had an issue with competition. One of the smaller ensembles had bought a lot of music. They said, "Oh, we'll never get to play all of this stuff. Are you interested in it?" And sold brand new full set copies for $25. So I took the titles, showed them to the band. I said, "Who wants to pick a piece for $25?" So we've gotten along well. We just play in each other's bands, and it's not a problem. We like you said, we can't rehearse on the same night.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and that does bump in. We do bump into that once in a while. I know Rose plays in my band once in a while, but it's also involved with some conflict. But you work it out. I think to answer that question briefly, also is, if that were a situation that came up in my world, I would just go to them and see how we could offer to help, and or say, we're going to do this, and try to make it a partnership of some sort, whether it be that you do anything together or collaborate, but know that you're there to help and be involved, rather than ostracize the situation by saying, "Oh, well, you're not good enough," or whatever. I mean, I'm just using that as 2 different examples. So I think all the musicians are going to play in different groups, and you want them to be happy in all of them. Rose, you had one more thing?
Right. When I was first director of this group, one of the other groups really solicited me to play, and the director just really pushed, "This isn't a conflict of interest. You can do this." Another side to some of the things we talked about was that, yes, I have members who had put their instrument away for 40 years, literally 40 years, and they picked it back up to come be in this band. I also, in our constitution or bylaws, it says they're supposed to be high school level, but because I was for years also a junior band director and I love kids, we had some kids who before and during COVID didn't have a band to play in, and they and their mother came and played in the band to fill in that time, and when they got back to band, oh, I got first chair, and so glad I got to keep playing. So
Yeah.
it's worked for us to have all ages.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. I'm going to switch real quick into a leadership situation question. The question is, what is a good leader? And I think they mean more about board members. Both conductor and leader of an organization. Are they two separate people? What can this look like? And I think, again, it's going to vary in the situation and who's starting it. For instance, Clay, who was not able to come to this, is a retired band director and wants to start his own community band in Arkansas. He has a great deal of experience that he would be bringing into starting a new ensemble. So it gets a little bit led by that person to start with. But I know personally, you can't do everything yourself, and you do have so many resources to draw from in adult ensembles. And so my thought would be that to encourage not trying to do everything yourself. That would be my thought on that. Keith, what would you like to share about this? What is a good leader? Both an organization, are they two separate people? Should they be two separate people?
It really helps if it is two separate people. The president of an organization and the conductor of an organization, it could be the same in a lot of community bands. It's not in ours, and I don't think it ever should be. They're just two different roles. But in terms of what a leader is, as you were talking, the first thing that came to mind was just about building relationships. The leaders, I think, at the core need to be building relationships with members, relationships with the community, with the audience member. It goes all around, and that's going to, through that lens, the leadership will take care of itself, I think.
I think so too. Yes. Ned, would you like to share anything about that?
Yes, both bands I'm in, we have two separate people, conductor and band manager / president. And that's the way to do it. There's so many details. And since I'm president of High Desert Winds, there's no way that I could conduct as well. And so I wouldn't expect a conductor to serve as the one to remind people to come to rehearsal, and here's what we're going to be working on. There's so many details involved that really do need two people. Now, I'd like to speak briefly to the artistic director versus principal conductor of the band. And we tossed around the idea of somebody selecting the music and somebody else conducting the music, and quickly rejected it, that we need to maintain what we currently have, which is that those two roles are the same person, and we really need to stick to that.
Yeah, I agree. We even have job descriptions that go along with that for the conductor, and the roles that they have. And I don't know how your ensembles are, those of you on the panel, but in ours, some conductors are paid and some conductors are not paid, and that sometimes makes a difference in the job description as well, depending on how that happens. Rose, would you like to speak to that question?
We run it a little loose, but I do have a board, and the especially great helper is the secretary with communications. I can come up with, okay, here's some information, or a band member will send me information. I can pop it to the secretary and she has it dispersed. Our digital library system has been very, very helpful. I tell her this is the music we want, and the librarians work together and they distribute. I need to be out of that.
Right. And then lastly, we're going to wrap up here with this question because it kind of feeds right into it. And the question was, as band board members age and retire, what advice do you have for recruiting new and young board members? So let's start with Ned on this one.
I think establishing personal relationships with members of the band, just chat with them during the break, get to know them. Then if you have a need later on for them to, or for anyone to step into a leadership role, then you at least establish that personal relationship, and it makes it a lot more effective to come back and ask them to take a leadership role.
Right. Keith?
I think people, Ned's right on the money there, but I think people start to show their skill sets in their attendance, in their interest in the group, what they do as a job outside of the band, because when you're inviting board members, you're actually inviting their experience and their skills and what they do in their day jobs, if somebody's a lawyer or whatever, and their network, right? You're also bringing their network in, and what they can help do for the board. So all things to consider. And then sometimes, and to Ned's point, once you talk to them, and if you think that's going to be a good fit, just asking them if they have interest. And sometimes people just want to be asked too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have found that the personal approach is the best way when you want someone to do something, rather than asking the band as a general big group, because people are hesitant to volunteer in front of other people. But if I think, wow, that guy Ned, he's going to be a guy I'm going to go up and talk to and just find out more about him, because I think he might fit a role that we have in this. In fact, that kind of happened on the ACB board, didn't it, Ned? Yes, Keith, go ahead.
One last thing that I just totally forgot while I was giving my answer was that our band actually votes on members. We ask for nominations if people would like to serve, and we have a couple positions of at-large members, I think 2 or 3 a year, and then we have the whole band vote on those.
Yeah, that's in our bylaws that way. And I'll get to you in just a moment, Rose, but another question came up on the chat, and that was, do any of you have board members that are non-playing members, like community people? Does anybody have that? So I'll start with Rose, and then we'll come back and we'll circle around here.
I just had one member who has been on for a few years and said, okay, I'm just too busy, I've got to back off. And we had a meeting, and at this point, that person is still on our board as a non-playing member. And we talked about the value of playing versus not playing, not being right in on top of, the current daily workings. So we are operating that way, at least as a temporary motion right now.
Okay, good. And did you want to say anything more about the whole how to recruit new board members?
Totally on target. You've got to be having those relationships, the conversations, watch your people, who's got what talent, what interest. And I'm asking somebody who's already helping. This one's doing the Facebook, and she's going, nope, don't give me anything else. I'm happy doing this. Okay, great. I'm happy with your work. So we have volunteer work, but targeting who has the next need and has that spark to come and serve.
Yeah. Ned, do you have anyone on any of your boards that are non-playing members?
Yeah, both boards, they're members of the band.
Thank you. What about you, Keith?
Not on the board, but we created a Friends of the SJWE and have a friends group, and that would be the place for spouses and community members and other people.
Right. And then one last question, and it kind of is about the same type of thing of talk about ways to recruit more players. That does not seem to be a problem with me, especially since the pandemic. I think we have our own website. It's a good website, and when people Google community band in West Michigan, boom, ours pops up, and people start to look at it and see. It's nice because they can decide whether they want to join Rose's band or if they want to join my band or whatever. We're far enough away from each other that they will choose one or the other, I'm sure. But do you have any reason to be out recruiting for anything? Ned, I'll start with you.
The concert band of late has gotten pretty big to the point where it's hard to fit everybody into the room, and definitely cannot fit everybody into the parking lot. So it's tough. But when we were still trying to grow the band, it was word of mouth. Also, the website is very clear about just show up, bring your instrument, and we'll find a place for you. That's with the concert band. Then with High Desert, it's a people knowing each other, word of mouth, then auditioning people for the band.
Yeah. We have a community orchestra that's been trying to start up, and the pandemic actually was its friend in a lot of ways, because people really wanted to do something. A lot of the string players in the community, and they chose a middle school director, but a wonderful musician and wonderful conductor, a younger guy who knew how to talk to the people he had as students who are now out of school and living in our community. The orchestra in since the pandemic, so I was going to say since 21, has grown. The strings have almost doubled. It's just amazing. And I think if those of you that are still here with this session, don't be afraid to go out and talk to your middle school directors, the people that are in the teaching world, because those students grow up and stay around. If they do, they might want to still keep playing. Don't be afraid to use them as a resource. And I say middle school specifically than high school, because they kind of are the ones who don't get the opportunity to do so much with the higher level of literature that you might be performing. Keith, I'll come back to you about the recruiting of new players. Do you have anything you need to add to that?
No, it's mostly been from within the band. We ask the musicians to, we tell them what our needs are. We're constantly after each concert, and we're looking at the roster for the next concert based on who's able to play the next concert, that we're going to need another horn or two, or we need another percussion. And we usually get what we need.
Right. Right. Thank you. Well, this has been a wonderful way to finish up this two-part series that we've been doing to help people do more. Oh, I'm sorry, Rose, did I not finish with you? I apologize. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yes, we use our website and we talk to people, but like I'm in the dentist chair, my dentist hygienist. Oh, I used to play clarinet. And so I've got her and her husband thinking about being in the band, going through the security at the airport. One of the guys saw a t-shirt or something, and I want to come hear your band. I might play too. So it's your whole life. It's whoever you're talking to. And I have the business cards for the band that I keep in my purse, and I just pass them right out and say, here's the band. You can look us up here. So
absolutely.
Wherever you go, talk about your band.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're the best. You're the best advertising for sure. So again, thank you for the whole opportunity to work and talk with the panelists here. You've been marvelous, just being able to share. I know I've learned a lot of things. I've written a lot of ideas down from what I've gained here today, for sure. So we're very grateful to learn about the financial and funding concepts and all the other things we talked about today to organize it with our member bands. I'd like to extend my sincere, very sincere gratitude to Keith and to Rose and to Ned. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with our whole ACB Connects family. We really appreciate it. So, I'd like to offer a special thanks to our ACB Connects team that are behind the scenes. We can't do this without you, and I thank you so much. If you're not a member of ACB and you'd like to join, now is the perfect time. You'll find all the details on how to join, along with a list of member benefits, by selecting the Join button on the ACB website homepage. Membership at the student, individual, family, life levels includes a free subscription to the Naxos Music Library. This is a world-class music streaming service which can be accessed via the website and their mobile app. Members also receive our amazing journal, the magazine that ACB puts out. To give someone the gift of an ACB membership, you just visit our website and click on Gift a Membership under the announcements. ACB is hosting 3 regional Connects events this year. This is brand new. We're very excited about it. It came out of the pandemic as ways to connect with people within the United States. We are having 3. One is April 26th and 27th, coming up soon, and that's in Omaha, Nebraska. In June 14-15, this summer, is in Plano, Texas. And September in the fall, 20th and 21st in Carrollton, Georgia. These will be a weekend event that will include music reading sessions, clinics, discussions, networking opportunities, and a few ACB member band performances. Registration is open for the first 2 of these events. The early bird pricing is available until March 15th for Nebraska and May 1st for Texas. The Georgia event is currently accepting applications to perform there through March 15th, and the registration will be open on May 1st. This is a brand new concept, and I encourage you to look into doing it. I think it would be great fun. I think I'm going to be driving out to Omaha myself to be able to participate in this wonderful opportunity. Many have been awaiting the announcement of our full ACB convention. We are pleased to announce that Music on the Frontier is planned for June 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2025. We are excited to partner with the River Valley Community Band in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Save that date. Look for more information in the journal and on our social media. For general information about ACB or to access all the links mentioned today, including previously recorded sessions of our ACB Connects, and there are over 20 of those, I would encourage you to just get on and look at what it is that we have been sharing with our membership. Visit our website homepage at acbands.org. Be sure to also check the ACB website for the details and registration information for our future sessions of ACB Connect. We'd love to have you follow us on Facebook. You'll see several new postings each week with releases of information about ACB and other band happenings whenever they're available. So thank you again for being with us today for this special opportunity to form new connections and learn what your membership has to offer. On behalf of the Association of Concert Band Board of Directors and the ACB Connects team, we are proud to serve you and hope to see you again at the next session of ACB Connects. Good night.